Hello everyone, Eric Watson here for the Answer Player of Games, writer of Voyager, quarter videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of my bi-weekly, behind-the-scenes, DM-only livestream crafting Icewind Dale, which I build, right, and prepare for our next session of Rime of the Frostmaiden. If you are playing characters by Robin, Frey, Celeste, Edmund, or Thimbleweed, get out of here. This is not the right stream for you. In fact, Friday, you cannot be here either because there's no D&D on Friday, if you hadn't heard that news. I'm on vacation this weekend. But for the rest of you, welcome. I'm still doing my Monday night crafting stream. I will not do Thursday stream, however. There will be spoilers, as always. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday, except for this Friday. Watch all of our D&D sessions and reviews here on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Rogue Watson. Join our official Discord server with invite link into the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/Rogue Watson. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net, and for streaming, I use Open Broadcaster software with Streamlabs. So even though we're not doing D&D, I figured we could at least do a crafting stream because I've got more stuff to plan, and we have wrapped up the entire Goliath chapter. Although that being said, we've still got some epilogue stuff to cover when we do come back for our next D&D session. I still need to upgrade Frey's axe and we need to level up to 10. So we probably won't cover too much ground next week, but that always gives me more time to plan ahead. Stan, Nate. Oh, Stan, I'm jealous. Gen Con is definitely on my bucket list. I want to go so bad. It looks like a ton of fun. So we've got 2 more areas left of Chapter 2, and that's it for the campaign, I believe, which is the Lost Spire of Netheril and Revel's End. And I'm pretty sure my players will go to Lost Spire next because it's kind of on the way. If we zoom out the map, they're kind of down here in the Goliath area. It just kind of makes sense if you're making a straight shot to Revel's End, which works out great because Revel's End is the main quest, so it really works out for my pacing if they do all the side quest stuff first. They can easily just airship over there, do Lost Spire, and then airship over to Revel's End. Since they're going to Lost Spire next, I figure we could actually cover that one in next week's crafting series. So maybe I'll actually talk about Revel's End a little bit for tonight's crafting series, because this is just kind of a bonus one. And then after that, we can finally talk about Chapter 5, 6, and 7 of the book, even though we're 50-some sessions in, and level 10, we still haven't actually made it to Chapter 5 yet, which is kind of by design. So Revel's End is going to take probably the most amount of work. I'm actually fairly sure it's going to take the most amount of work compared to any of the rest of the content we have in the game, because it's something I need to change around to make my story work and have it be a little more interesting, which is involving Baelish Gaunt, who is kind of almost a minor cameo character from the campaign book. I turned him into one of my big bads along with Ness Lantomir, and I really kind of turned them into almost a Joker, Harley Quinn, villainous lovers point of view. Although do not ask me. I don't know my DC history very well at all, so I don't know what their modern thing is. I'm sure she's left his ass by now, as she should. But the point being, she did everything she did because she drank Baelish Gaunt's Kool-Aid and was all about trying to resume his work of researching the Shardolin and trying to find this lost city that Gaunt only really barely knew about. And then while he's been in prison, he's been doing some more research about what's in, as far as he knows, he doesn't know it was a whole city. That's something the players kind of learned specifically, but they know there's something buried under there that they want to get to. So I'm just going to say while he was in prison, he was able to do enough research to basically figure out where Arl's abode is, because I don't have any other way to get that information to the players. And at this point, anything else feels like it's just kind of going to slow down the pacing. So I think if I can have him already have that information, and the reason he hasn't acted on it is because he's been in prison, kind of makes sense. And then Ness Lantomir is going to be there to break him out, which thankfully happened a couple days ago in universe. So and I did manage to pull off what I wanted to do, which was to extract Thimbleweed's host xenomorph insect thing out of his body, rip it out. This was actually very long ago at this point, right after we did the Shardolin Dragon sequence when we were at the Shardolin dig site, and take it with her and use that to essentially help dismantle the entire prison of Revel's End and break out Baelish Gaunt, which the players, in other words, will be walking into a aliens situation with LV426, where the creature that was inside Thimbleweed will have turned into a queen, and that queen will have basically infected and transformed the prison of Revel's End into, I guess technically be Alien 3. That would be a combination of Aliens and Alien 3, wouldn't it? Because Alien 3 was a prison colony. So in other words, I'm changing this prison where we get a whole map, which I will show you. But it's another weird case of, similar to the Goliaths, where it's not designed as a dungeon crawl, even though it's a huge area and a big old map. You just kind of walk in and it's kind of a bunch of social encounters, and then you can talk to you know, the prisoner, which is Baelish Gaunt here, prisoner 237. I'm very zoomed out, so I'm back in. So I look at that saying, well, you know what we haven't done a whole lot of in this campaign is some good old-fashioned dungeon crawls, which I really like in my D&D adventures, and Rime hasn't had a whole lot of that, which is why I added the whole Shardland dig site, because I wanted a dungeon crawl, and now I think I'm transforming this into a dungeon crawl because I think we need another dungeon crawl. Like Sunblight was a great one, and we've got some good ones at the end of the campaign as well. We just haven't had one in a while because we've been doing these kind of mini little, you know, Dark Duchess, It Ascendant, all these little adventures, none of which were protracted dungeon crawls. And I don't see this one as being a protracted one so much as transforming it into a kind of alien situation. And I think I've settled on the Kruthic being my creature of choice that was pulled out of Thimbleweed. The Kruthic, I may fiddle with the stat block a little bit. They're kind of low CR, so that may be the biggest thing I have to fiddle with is making them more powerful, because again, the player's gonna be level 10. That's freaking huge. But on the other hand, I also want these creatures to be a swarm and really be pretty frightening in their numbers. So maybe, you know, a few of them the party can handle pretty easily, but when it gets to like a bunch of them, it starts getting really, really dicey and crazy. And that's something I would kind of like to do. And then even the big boss, Hive Lord, is only a CR5, I believe, and it just has basically slightly better stats, plus it can do a cool little acid spray, which is very thematically appropriate because that was something that Thimbleweed gained the ability to do when he evolved to his next secret level. After the insect was actually ripped out of him, he gained new abilities, including the acid spray ability, which was pretty cool. They all do have pack tactics, which works great against swarming creatures. Tremor sense means they can find them. Burrow is pretty creepy. It means they can just pop out anywhere and really make their way around the prison. And of course, I'm going to slightly change their life cycle about which I haven't thought about. If I literally want to rip off aliens completely to where they've got like facehugger type creatures, I don't know if I want to go that far into it or just have it where the Kruthics themselves are the ones that are doing that. I don't know. But either way, I think these are still the creatures I will use. The only thing I might add is the acid blood thing, but that might be going too far. It's something that the players had to deal with kind of recently with the Rimeraz, where they got to melee fight creatures, and those creatures auto did damage back, and that got to be deliciously painful. But maybe too much so. But again, level 10, like come on, they're getting pretty strong at this point. But that's going to take a lot of work on my end because this is not designed as a dungeon. As I mentioned, it is designed as just a prison that's operating like normal for the players. We have a really cool art handout here where it's designed as on the coast, on the edge of the Sea of Moving Ice. And it's kind of this star-shaped prison with a giant tower in the middle of it where all the like administrative and stuff is. And then the prison cells are kind of like a spokes going out from the star. And I like the fact that you can arrive by land, by sea, or by air, which is fascinating because normally if I was building this dungeon, you would put all the good final shit in the tower and make your players go there. However, as we all know, my players have access to an airship, a nautiloid airship. So there's probably a 99% chance they're just going to land that fucking airship right on the tower and actually enter the dungeon that way. Means I need to change that around. It also gives me a chance, because the players are level 10, is to ratchet up the defenses, the built-in prison security features of this maximum security prison. Like what would a fantasy D&D maximum security prison look like? Would that be, you know, shield guardians, Would that be zones of anti-magic, of silent spells around mages? Like, what kind of shit could they really do? Because, I mean, the high alert stuff didn't seem very impressive, but again, this wasn't made for, level 10 PCs to come in and be worried about anything. So on high alert, when a matter of concern is brought to the attention, the warden can say a magic word, and it puts the prison on high alert, which means a klaxon blares throughout the prison, and all continual flame spells in the prison take on a reddish hue, which is pretty cute. Basically, the alarm systems are going off. I don't even know if because unfortunately this map is extremely bare. Like, it's got the texturing and stuff, but doesn't have any detail in it whatsoever. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of work in that aspect also. The guards don their armor, arm themselves, and move to area R18, which is the central, I think it's the base of the central tower right here, which it looks like they're already there. The warden does the same and commands the garrison from there, and members of the Absolution Council, which is kind of the ruling group of representatives from all the different factions, retreat to area 20, which I guess is just a higher level of the tower. The warden and all prison guards gain the benefit of a see invisibility spell. Great. Knock and help begins a bunch of insects. So what I want to play, and these are, the nice thing is these are all veterans, which is a pretty high stat block, but I could still rule that these Kruthix were able to murder them pretty regularly because they were just popping out of dudes and ripping them out of them and killing them, and then they grow pretty quickly and they breed, and it's just bad news from there. Again, I don't know how much I actually want to crib off of the literal aliens thing and have eggs and face huggers and stuff, but that would make for an excellent dungeon hazard, is to have a bunch of eggs lying around that the players cannot fuck with, or things might come out. Hey, I'm on vacation this weekend, Sylvan Fox. Not yet this week, but I basically am on vacation starting Thursday, so I figured I would do a bonus crafting today on Monday. And we've got the DM roundtable on Tuesday, so obviously I'm still there for that for patrons. And right now we're looking at Rebel's End, which is something I'm going to turn into my alien-style prison, thanks to Thimbleweed. And yes, I do plan on kind of making this a little bit of a Thimbleweed-centric dungeon. I even kind of want to maybe do a little alien resurrection with Thimbleweed's relationship to the Hive Lord, maybe. The Hive Queen, as it were, and maybe, I don't know, just do some fun, like, role-playing there, where it's got some affinity to him, and maybe it refers to him as mother or something. I think that could be really deliciously crazy and horrifying in some ways. Not to where the Kruthix would ignore him like the way the defenses ignored Celeste, but maybe when they just get to the final boss fight, there's a thing there. Obviously, Vaelish Gaunt will not be in his room. He'll have been rescued by Ness Lantomir, but the important thing, I don't know how to convey this information to the players, but there are records of so the only thing they know, let's look at I need to like write down my goals for this dungeon, because the current quest is, you found God's safe house after entering the Shardland dig site. Let's see. So he found something beneath the Rigid Glacier. He was arrested before he could make any further moves, and then Ness Lantomir was able to basically inadvertently start the entire Everlasting Rime by finding the city, but that also drew Aurel's attention, like the Eye of Sauron. And in session 42, which was a while ago, a ghostly version of Ness Lantomir possessed a deep gnome, and a party of deep gnomes tunneled up from the Underdark and discovered the divination orb. The ghost attacked, possessed Valen, unleashed terrible spells, wreaked havoc, and disappeared. Her last words teased her next destination, freeing her lover Vaelish Gaunt from the prison, Revel's End. So that's kind of the only clue they have, is just to go here and look for Vaelish Gaunt and maybe Ness Lantomir, who is some kind of crazy ghostly warlock power thing that I haven't quite nailed down what her stat block is. What level patron get access to the roundtables and the game? All patrons get access to the round table. That is open to everybody. That's just a cool thing that if any patrons are available that month, they can jump on and chat with me about the topic. We vote on the topic once a month, and then we chat for maybe about an hour or so, and then upload to the channel. For the patron D&D games, that is for platinum level patrons only. So that is kind of an upper tier, higher reward level, and that's obviously a lot more work involved on my end. and people can sign up for that, and there's a whole system for getting into those games. Good questions to have, though. I've got a lot of Silver Plus patrons get access to bite-sized content that I've created, any magic items or creatures or like the player secrets I did. Those are all uploaded as individual things, whereas Platinum patrons just get access to all of my notes with everything in it. And then Gold Plus patrons get early access to a lot of stuff, plus original adventures when I start creating those, which the first one I was hoping to get out this month. It's going to be tough because the Journeys to the Radiant Citadel took me a long time to get the review done. My ranking video went up today for patrons. It'll go up tomorrow for everybody else. I'm going to try to get my best to get it done this month, but it's fortunately behind a lot of other things that have bigger priorities. Good questions, though. So, the goal is to try to look for any clues about Vaelish Gaunt or Nest Lantamir and what they're doing and what they're up to. Now, the nice thing is, it says that there were records of the numbers of the people. Let's see where I mentioned that. Guards outside. Maybe it's down below where it talks about Vaelish Gaunt. Oops, pull back up too quickly. Or it's not there. Okay, well, I forgot where I read it, but there was somewhere where it said they're all referred to as, all the prisoners are referred to as numbers. Features. Okay, here we go. All prisoners in Rebel's End are identified by a number. Prison personnel commit these numbers to memory, and the records of all prisoners past and present are stored in Area R22, which means if the party lands the airship at the top of the tower, that's R23, I can nicely give them that information very soon, which would work out pretty well for pacing-wise, because I want to start this off as a very creepy investigation thing. Just the fact that they land on this prison without any... There's no guards, there's no like defenses, there's nothing around to stop them, should clue them in to the fact that something is wrong with this prison. And I definitely want to tease that creepy, like, what is going on here? Like, why is there nobody here? Like, what happened here? And you know, when they get inside the tower, maybe they can see like alarms blaring still. Unfortunately, I can't do... There's no electricity going on here, so I have to be careful about how D&D would do like the prison and how that would be going haywire. The other thing is I thought about, you know, what if we did like anti-magic zones and stuff, because that would be maximum security prison. But if I can't do that around the entire prison, because that just really screws over the spellcasters in a not fun way, but maybe it can be over certain areas, and maybe it's going haywire. So maybe it is. So maybe it's on because the whole the whole place is under high alert. But maybe it's malfunctioning to where, I don't know, maybe it has a chance of dispelling. Maybe there's like a counterspell. I don't know. There's some maybe system I can use to try and make it challenge, but I do want to make this whole area be kind of challenging in that way. The fact that the security system has been armed, and maybe it hasn't been disarmed, and maybe that's something else the party can figure out while they're in here, is how to disarm the security system, which would possibly benefit or hinder them. Maybe the security system is helping keep some of the monsters at bay at the same time, while also having different countermeasures that the players have to deal with. Let's see, let's actually go in reverse. So that's R22 is records, 23 is the roof. No guards are stationed here. The guards in the prison watchtower see an airship or airborne threat approaching. They alert the rest of the prison. Hold the heads to the roof to greet the airship crew or deal with the airborne threat herself. What stat block is the warden that she's capable of doing a lot of this? Each door and rooftop hatch is made of reinforced iron held shut by an arcane lock spell. Prison personnel can open these doors and hatches normally. A locked door or hatch is too strong to be shouldered or kicked open, but it can be destroyed if it takes enough damage. Okay, that's interesting. Magically sealed, which is... So they could be destroyed, but that's an interesting deterrent. Everything is magically heated inside. The prison has a garrison of 75 guards. That's a lot of Kruthix I could throw at the party. There probably should be some survivors just so they can explain what's going on. The question will be how soon I want to give them that information of getting to the survivor, how long. Maybe, probably the best thing to do is that the players do land by airship, and then I can have the tower be relatively free. Oh, there's the warden. What's the warden stat block? Not good. She's got 40 hit points. Oh, it's just a mage. Okay. I don't know if the warden should survive or not, or just a faceless guard. I feel like the warden would have gone down with the ship, maybe, or maybe. And the other thing is, I could have more people survive. Maybe like the warden and a group of veterans survived, and you actually turn this into a little mini base of operations. And they say, "Look, the prison's been lost. We're stuck in here. We can't get out. You brought an airship, so now we can get out." That might be an interesting turn. So maybe they find a group of guards and veterans, but they should probably be in really bad shape. That way the players don't just say, "Okay, come with us and help us fight." Instead, it should be like they're really fucked up and barely hanging on. Because the Kruthix can burrow, and maybe there's like walls are destroyed, and that's really been fucking them up. In fact, they'd probably have to retreat upstairs. It'd be easier. Although Kruthix can climb and burrow through anything, so I guess it wouldn't. Gotta be really hard to keep those things at bay, wouldn't it? Because even if the arcane lock, it says they can be destroyed, so the Kruthix would be destroying that too. Interesting. I gotta decide how many survivors I want, or go more horror with it and have very few survivors, and instead you come down here and it's a bunch of the aliens' cocoons saying "kill me," and you could have those creatures be bursting out and really just do the straight up aliens thing. I don't know how much I should crib off aliens. Horror could be animated armor command. Yeah, animated armors as the guards for dangerous prisoners. I like that idea. That's a cool idea of upping the exotic factor and making it more of a maximum security prison. Is Shield Guardian too much? Am I looking at maybe animated armors instead? Because those would probably be easier. Filter by construct. There is a spectator here somewhere. No, none found. Really? I'm searching for construct. Got nothing? Roll 20? Oh, that's all the monsters. Okay, here we go. I think these are only, what, CR1? Animated armor. Which, that could be good fodder for just simple, I mean, this would be enough to take out, you know, commoner style prisoners, but if you're being sent to a maximum security prison, you're probably not a commoner, you're probably got some power level to you. Oh shoot, they wouldn't work in anti-magic fields though, so if I want to use anti-magic fields, animated armor would shut themselves off. I could use the clockwork creatures from Doom of Beasts. Clockwork hounds. They're just kind of cool looking. There's a lot of clockwork stuff. DR3, 100 hit points. And the thing is, these they have net cannons too. That's awesome. It's like a predator. The chest can fire a net. I don't know if they would be because the thing is, when the Kruthix attack, these would be part of the defensive measures. But maybe when the alarms are going off, maybe these things are set to take down anything that's not prison personnel. So you could have it be like, sorry, our defenses are going to be doing that, and maybe that's something else that the party might want to shut down the security system for. But then, Warden is now a Revenant. Whoa. Baby. I mean, they're level 10. I gotta start fucking doing this kind of thing, don't I? That's if I don't want to have any survivors, I guess. Jesus. Because I still want to use this map, and the goal, hopefully for the players, will be, they'll land on the roof, with the airship. They'll go down, they'll get the records, which says, Valish Gaunt, Prisoner 237. I could include little journal entries in there for them to discover. And then a location for that in the prison. And they're like, all right, well, let's go down and check on that and see what's going on. It's just pure exploration. They have no idea what's going on. And then I really need to decide when to hit them with the, oh no, this shit has gotten real bad. So it's going to have to be somewhere around the base of this tower. I imagine this is where the survivors would make their last stand. If there are any survivors, they would probably be found here in the tower. Unless, I guess you could have some randomly hold up in a in like one of these towers or something. So that's a possibility. And obviously I'm going to fill these rooms with the dead bodies of prisoners and lots of Kruthix everywhere. And yeah, it's unfortunately a 10-foot square map. Not the best thing ever, but it would give me a chance to use just a zillion Kruthix on the map. Is this actually open? Like, has murder holes? Yeah, it does. That's interesting. What does that look like for the player's point of view? Oh boy. Okay, that's wild looking. So literally you've got just a bunch of, this is like if there's a prison riot or something, you can sit behind here and shoot people. Do I want to keep the Kruthix burrowing speed? And if so, I mean, hell, the Hive Lord can acid spray. Maybe even you could add acid damage to the Kruthix. That's the big problem, is they can cut through, their shit melts everything. They always hide in storage rooms. Good prison guards, they can't get infested by Kruthix. That's true. Talking about the constructs. Yeah. I mean, I think that would be an interesting side plot if I could work that in, is maybe they can try to regain control of the security system. I like using Kruthix like chrysalids from XCOM. Yes! Yes! That's what I was picturing. The fucking... So, those guys, that was baked into their ability, right? If they killed you... If a chrysalid... So, speaking on XCOM, if a chrysalid killed you, you would then, like the next round, the person who was killed would rise up as a zombie. Right? And then how'd they make new chrysalids? They rise up as a zombie? Okay, I'm gonna have to look up the life cycle of the chrysalid again. How do they make new chrysalids? Or did they just spawn chrysalids on the map? I don't remember if that happened, but I think that's how you ended up with the zombies. Creepy sound effects. Yeah, I should. But that could be pretty crazy. So, in other words, there wouldn't be... Oh, man. Well, now that would change it to where it'd be full of zombies instead of Kruthix. And again, I'm not necessarily using... You kill the zombie, it turns into a chrysalid. Is it if you don't kill the zombie in time or something? I mean, I could use that. I could certainly use that. Come2 just had them pop out of the dead bodies. Okay. So the chrysalid just spawned out of it. Yeah. I think that would be more interesting than the zombie thing, is to have a Kruthix pop out. But, so why did Thimbleweed end up with one gestating inside him for so long, though? Or do I just wave that away? Maybe Thimbleweed's special for some reason. Normal people, like, as soon as they get killed and implanted with one, they burst out. Or maybe it hasn't, it doesn't happen right away. Maybe it has to take time. Maybe Thimbleweed was healed, but it wasn't, not healed all the way. But we've got some XCOM fans in the chat, by the way. Man, I need another XCOM game. Araxis, come on. Chroma Squad was very good. I had a lot of fun with Chroma Squad, but I need more XCOM in my life. I love those games. Those are fun games to stream too. But I'm liking this back and forth. This is kind of what I want to do, is make it so basically give me an excuse why there's a shit ton of Kruthiks in here. Like originally the party has to face like a bunch of them and they think, oh man, this is crazy. And then at some point I would love to trigger like the big nasty like huge wave of creatures to where they almost have to do like the classic like we got to get the fuck out of here kind of maneuver. But the important thing is they need to make it to Vaelish Gaunt's prison cell, and then hopefully there they can get some information. Maybe he's like scrawled things on the wall, or I'm picturing the scene in what is that? Is that Con Air where they go to John Malkovich's room and they learn some information about his plans and stuff, and then the stupid guards open the box and blow themselves up. That's kind of what I'm picturing here in terms of gathering information from the cell. Maybe he's got a journal he left behind or something. Just because of the chaos that ensued, you know, and basically Ness Lantimir's plan was to sneak in using her ghostly powers and unleash this bug in some unsuspecting corner and allow the creatures to start doing their thing, start spreading and just causing mass chaos. And then while that was happening, maybe she possesses a guard and then walks over and unleashes Vaelish Gaunt, and they can hurriedly get the hell out of there. Wow, because the Kruthiks aren't technically allied with them either. Timing-wise, I don't know when that happened, and it might be prudent. I don't know if I want to have them run into, because it gets really tricky to have your villains interact with the party and come up with ways that the party can't just immediately kill your villains too early. And that's always something I'm very nervous about. I mean, just because the party's always going to try to do something. But the Ness Lantimir at least has powers that I haven't quite properly defined yet, so that gives me a little bit more leeway. Vaelish Gaunt himself is I think he's supposed to be a decent level mage. I can obviously make him something a lot higher, maybe even archmage or something that he doesn't have a spellbook with him, but maybe Ness Lantimir can provide that, or maybe he can probably just grab it from storage, more than likely. The idea here is the players need, the important thing is they don't have to catch Gaunt or Lantimir. In fact, if I can keep them until maybe Grimskala for a final showdown, that might be better. To keep them as keep one or both of them as proper villains. But the important information they need to learn is the Island of Solstice and Grimskala, where that is and why they care, which is all stuff that perhaps Vaelish Gaunt has been learning in the time that he's been imprisoned. And he's got theories about like where to find, you know, Aurel's abode in the Island of Solstice, and the fact that it's got the answer to get underneath the glacier, and everything points to that. And then hopefully that'll be a good enough clue to give the players that information and go there. And plus, hopefully I can escape. If I really don't feel confident about it, then I'll just have Gaunt and Lantimir be gone, and then they can just, it's like the players are following them. Otherwise, I can have them be there for maybe a finale, a climax or something, and allow her to throw down. I kind of already did that, unfortunately, with like her throwing down stuff and then leaving. I basically did at the end of the Shardland dig site. So I'm leery about doing that again, but they can easily take a ship from Revel's End itself and leave, and the party doesn't need that because they've already got their Nautiloid, so they can just hop back in the Nautiloid, and once they've got all that information, and continue on. So this doesn't have to be a fully explorable dungeon. I guess I could see what's in all these different rooms and see if it's worth exploring for them, but really that's the important information. I mean, maybe they can go to the storage area and loot the treasures and things, or they can try to search for survivors. Like, I would certainly encourage that, and I can try to make this hopefully a good dungeon. But the main thing, the purpose, the thing I need them to check is that information from Gaunt. And I think if I do it well, they don't even have to run into Gaunt. They can just learn it from his prison cell. The bummer is the way this dungeon is designed, they can get to a cell very quickly, as you can see. Obviously, I can put it in any of these cells, but it doesn't matter because it's very, very just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the central tower. So I kind of have to go pretty hard with this. The fact that this place is just crawling with all these creatures, and all this stuff is really messed up and nasty, and it's blood and guts and bodies and things everywhere, and maybe some maybe there's a few of the patrolling guards around that have been a stalemate with the Kruthiks, or maybe I'll just drop the whole construct thing and just leave it more horror and more dark to where there's no survivors, everybody's died, and instead the Kruthiks have just about taken over, and these barricades are slowly breaking down. So by the time the party makes it to like the lowest tower level, maybe they're already seeing signs of the creatures. Card something like a key card to get through security. I mean, yeah. In order to, yeah, that's true. That they would have to be able to get that to escape. I mean, if she can just possess a guard, she can let him out that way. But the key would be to try and make it so there's constant chaos around, so they wouldn't be able to stop him and her, and they can escape. So I've kind of given her. She basically has the powers of a ghost plus like a high-level spellcaster, so she can just possess people, which is pretty helpful. And then she could possess a guard, and the guard could then, hopefully with all the chaos, they can just escape there. So I'm not worried about having to explain all that. I think I can get that done pretty easily. And I'm not even worried about the party having to get out of here, because that's kind of the bummer about them already having the Nautiloid, is it's not like they have to make it through point A to point B, C, D, E, or whatever. Like, they've already got their Nautiloid there parked up there. They can just go down and get the information, then go right back up and say, all right, we're done with this place. Just go. Like, just nuke it from orbit. The only way to be sure. In which case, that's probably a fine way of doing it. It just means that I need to be able to run my boss fight somewhere nearby, and maybe I can treat it like I called a Thimbleweed, and maybe he follows, and the rest of the party wants to engage more. I could definitely play around with that too. A magic mop up to go Celeste mop, that's not a bad idea. Don't they all have good items though? My goodness, I keep throwing them so many good items. I've mentioned this before, that because I use milestone leveling, and because we treat our D&D games as maybe a little bit more video gamey, a little bit more transactional when it comes to the reward system, which I mean that's perfectly fine with me. I end up giving them a lot of magic items, although I don't see that being the case in this one necessarily. But what I might do is, if Thimbleweed confronts the Hive Lord, maybe I can unlock like a new ability for him or something, which is also pretty satisfying, depending on how the party treats all this. I really want to do something creepy where the Hive Lord like talks to him and says like, oh, you haven't unlocked your true potential or something, and really get into the creepy. I don't know why I keep doing this with Reese's characters, because I did this similarly when in Tomb, where he's able to get a adamantium skeleton or something. But try to give an even more like creepy insect, and if he embraces all that, maybe I do something to him and he like turns into a fucking Thrycreen or something at this point. I don't know. I have to change his whole art around. He just becomes a straight up insect dude. I want to know more about some of these other rooms though, in case there's interesting things going on that I can work with. Counselor's quarters is a very nice area. This area over here. Maybe I can have a room full of survivors somewhere the party could feel good about, and especially these would be high-level survivors. Maybe they've got the guards. Maybe there's a last holdout. This would be nice because it'd be far enough away from everybody else. They'd have to fight their way in here. Council members of the Absolution Council. Presenting Neverwinter, Baldur's Gate, and Daggerford. Let's see. What is R6? Is the mess hall. And I really wish they'd added any detail. I'm gonna have to add all of this shit. There's tables and benches fill the room. Stables is an R5. Hospital is an R4. Is at the other side? Kinda is. R3 is like the guard, yeah. Guard room. Ooh, is an elevator. Oh, that's gotta be in the back, right? Yeah, okay. That's right, there's a huge drop here where it drops you down to the pier level. That's pretty cool. I just don't know if I can work out Gaunt and... Because if Gaunt and Neslantimir are still there, that means this chaos only just happened. So it might not make narrative sense for them to still be around. But I want to have that be... There should be sign... If the party investigates and goes down to the pier, there should be signs that they took a ship, you know, somewhat recently. Although that means they'd probably beat... well, hopefully not too recently. Even though the airship is probably faster than a ship. How many in-game days has it been since all that took place? If I can make it make a little bit of sense. Let's see, where are my notes? Day 14, we explored the Chardalyn dig site. Day 15, we long rested, then headed out towards the Dark Duchess. Day 16, we returned to 10 towns after doing Dark Duchess and Yarmouth, headed for the Goliaths. Day 17, we long rested in the It Ascendant after taking the ship. And then this will be day 18 is after the Goliaths. Long rest at whatever, one of the Goliath tribes. So it'll have been 4 days since the ghostly Neslantimir left with the insect. It's not a lot of time because she had to make her way all the way up here. I guess she could just ghost fly. I don't know. Whatever rules. But I might be playing a little fast and loose with the time frame. But these things operate very quickly. So it's not like the whole place is dilapidated or ruined or anything like that. It wouldn't have nearly enough time for that. But it would have enough time for a bunch of these creatures to kill everybody, and they can burrow, so that would actually, if I want to keep their burrowing speed, that would cause a lot of destruction and holes in various areas. Alright, so area 8, kitchen and side rooms. Yeah, I keep saying there's continual light spells, but I don't think Roll20 actually did that. No lighting, I can see. And all that. Which I do like the fact that there would be red, like, klaxon lights. I wonder if I can search for red light. Roxanne, have to put on the red tonight. There you go, literal like siren shit. Because I don't want it to look like a literal siren. That might work. Third arm. Raccoon's officially gonna be an official playable race in less than 2 weeks. Oh, is that a Spelljammer thing? Give him a stinger. Yeah, I mean, I kind of did that with the Evolved. I gave him some of the, what was it? It was something from Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Whatever the doppelganger type class is, or something, or a race that has the Simic Hybrid. I think is the one I used. It has some like creepy bestial abilities, but I could look into Shifter. Like I could go really crazy with it. The bad thing is he hasn't really engaged with any of that at all, so it's not necessarily combo with his archer style. Should a guy who got infected didn't tell anyone? Yeah, that's definitely a thing that happens. That's the zombie trope. For sure. Light. Actually, I kind of like it when it's just the dark light. Light color. Angry red. Show up. Yes, it does. That looks good. Have these red lights everywhere. I think that's going to add a lot to it. Guard towers, these weird triangle things, 2 stories tall. Empty except for a wooden ladder that climbs to an iron hatch held shut by an arcane lock spell. Hatch leads to the tower's flat rooftop, which is lined with battlements. I guess if you had survivors, they would be holed up on the roof then, but unfortunately that would be one of the first things the players would see. And I don't know if I want to give them that information too quick. It might be, I think, more effective from a horror standpoint to make it be, it's like a completely empty, deserted area. This is, honestly, this is probably the difference in level, too. If the players were lower level, I would probably have more survivors, have more, you know, rest stops and all that. But because they're such high level, I'm tempted to not have any fucking survivors and just have it play out like a horror shit show. And they don't know what's going on. Armory is in R10, which is where a spectator friend is. The room contains wooden racks and chests filled with non-magical weaponry. The armory is guarded by a spectator that treats the weapons as treasure. Knows every member of the prison staff on site. Won't leave the room and attacks anyone it doesn't recognize. Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. I'll probably have to at least double the number of spectators to make it somewhat interesting, and probably increase the number of loot there. So that's what this stupid symbol is. It's a ladder going to the roof. Don't call him a beholder, folks. It's a spectator, which is a shitty version of a beholder. Does have spell redirection, which is pretty fun. So yeah, I could put better loot in there. And I don't know, maybe 2 spectators. On the off chance the players make it in there. Maybe they realize, like, well, that's the armory. I'm trying to think where they would have prisoner confiscated goods, because if I was really clever, I would make it so they get the one information in the cell, and then they get another thing that says, all right, the other piece of information you need is going to be where they confiscated his shit. But I think the armory, I don't know if they have something like that here, where they would keep that. Courtyard. So these are actually open. Running to these 2 areas covered with flagstones and drifting snow. Prisoners brought here. There's 2 of these areas? 1. Okay, there's 2 of them opposite. Open area. Maybe the Kruthiks don't like it out here because they don't like the cold. Closely by guards the ground. R12 is a meeting room. And then this just encircles the whole thing. R15. Privy. The storeroom. Supplies are stored in here in crates and their containers. Prison stockpile and says to continue operation for 6 months. Large ass supply room. The hexagon. This corridor allows guards and visitors to access the outermost rooms of the prison while avoiding the panopticon. That's a great word, by the way. Panopticon. And its prison cells. The guard refers to its corridor as the hexagon because of its shape. Ricky called it the panopticon because it's also cool. You can just stroll around this whole area. Obviously, it's still open to the inside. Cells. Prisoners are kept in these unlit cells behind barred gates that can be opened only from area R18. Okay, so R18's got the security system. So again, it really changes things, the fact that the party can easily make their way into the tower first. Gates can be defended using brute strength or weapons. Magical attempts to open or bypass them are thwarted by permanent anti-magic fields. Okay. Each field encompasses 1 cell and its gate. Spells and other magical effects, except those created by an artifact or deity, are suppressed in an anti-magic field and can't protrude into it. While an effect is suppressed, it doesn't function, but the time it's been suppressed counts against its duration. So they do have anti-magic fields, but they're only on the cells. You know what I would do? If the security alarm's on, the anti-magic field is probably everywhere except the tower. That's where the guards would be on. In fact, Revel's End was created for the D&D movie coming out, and Chris Burke decided to place it in this campaign. That, I agree, that is a fun fact. I didn't know that. Are we going to see Revel's End in the movie? That's pretty cool. A fucking prison at the end of the world in the icy coast. That is pretty nifty. It does feel like a kind of a weird afterthought. There just doesn't seem to be, as written, not a whole lot of content here, unfortunately. Which is too bad, because obviously a maximum security prison in such a remote location has all kinds of cool things you could do with it, which is why I'm trying to do a cool thing with it. I don't think they have Arcane Lock. It doesn't say there's Arcane Lock on the cells of the bar. It's just anti-magic field. They have Arcane Locks on all the hatches on the roofs. All the ones that go to the roof have Arcane Lock. And I think maybe the very door at the top is an Arcane Lock. That is interesting. Each of the 24 cells can hold 1 or 2 prisoners. Roll 4d12. Determine the number of prisoners currently incarcerated at Revel's End. Give each one an identification number. Distribute them in the cells as you see fit. Numbers are assigned in the order in which prisoners arrive and are never reused. The longest permanent prisoner is prisoner 6. The newest one is prisoner 299. Let's arrange a meeting with prisoner 237. And they give you some ideas. Spellcasters, famous adventurers convicted of reckless endangerment, assassins or nobles. So obviously the goal here will be everybody's been killed by the Kruthiks, because the Kruthiks don't use magic, they don't care, and the Kruthiks can burrow into everywhere. So I will keep the Kruthiks burrowing, because that's going to be the key of why they were able to go around and do so much damage, because they can just burrow into all the walls, and then all these poor prisoners, even, you know, obviously warriors had no weapons, and spellcasters can't cast spells in anti-magic field, so they were just mercilessly slaughtered by these things. And the Kruthiks make more Kruthiks. R18, the Surveillance Hub. Hexagonal room is the base of the prison central tower. Spiral staircase connects the tower's upper levels. 7 guards are stationed in the Surveillance Hub. 1 sits at a console south of the staircase. The other guards watch the prisoners, whom they can observe through 4-foot-tall, 1-foot-wide arrow slits in the walls. 50 sets of iron manacles that guards use to bind prisoners' wrists and ankles. Console is a magic device bolted to the floor that resembles a small desk with a slanted top. It is a large object. AC of 15 and 18 hit points. I like that that's got more hit points than a level 1 person. Console has the following magical properties, which are disabled if it is reduced to 0 hit points. Gate control, light control, and a loudspeaker. Open and close gates to the prison cells. Light control controls the light area in level R16. This room out here. Okay. But you can't, the security system is tied to the warden saying the magic word, which if I've killed the warden, then the players have literally no way of shutting off the security system. The bad thing is, otherwise you give them access to the security system almost right off the bat, because they make it like R18 is like the first dangerous room they could potentially get to, assuming they again land on the roof and come in through the top. Climb the spiral staircase, come to a door 100 feet above the prison roof. Staircase continues beyond this door to the tower's higher levels. Wow, 100 feet. 50 guards sleep in the bunks in R19. Holy crap. So how far would these creatures have made it then, do we think? I mean, there'd be technically no stopping them, although 100 feet might be a natural deterrent for a little bit. They can climb, so I mean they would eventually go, but maybe they wouldn't want to go that far from their queen, at least initially. So you could maybe have them in the bottom level, but just the top would be so far that might be a little bit of a deterrent. But all the soldiers would have moved down there to help defend, so maybe they had a final stand. So what I could really do is turn R18 into a grisly, nasty situation where it's just bodies which have been exploded out, like their chests have exploded and creatures have come out and really do that fun thing, and then have all these noises and creepy effects coming out through here and chittering sounds, and that's kind of the mood that I want to put everybody in once they get to R18. But it's tricky because you do get that security console, and then their goal would be to make it to Valishgaunt's prison, but as soon as they step onto R16, they would basically trigger. And I don't know how to run it. Maybe it's just a one wave of creatures, and they can go to the social thing, and then I do another wave, or I just keep throwing waves of creatures at them. I don't know what would be. I mean, not a continuous source, I guess, but I certainly want this place to be on high alert, and they've got tremor sense, so they would be able to hunt the players down. And I should have no qualms about using quite a few of them, because they're not that strong individually. They're only CR2 creatures. Although, as we just saw, the Peritons last week, surprisingly very effective despite their low CR. Pack Tactics obviously is going to help a lot in a swarm situation, always with advantage. Pretty good physical saves. Decently high AC, although the party at this point has a lot of +9s and +10s, so they've got a really good chance to hit. 39 hit points, I think, is okay. They just don't do a lot of damage, but they've got range and melee options, so it's kind of just a war of attrition. They're just constantly plinging at the characters. Obviously, something like a slow spell would be pretty devastating, but hopefully I'll just have so many creatures that I can overwhelm Volraven. And the fact that they can climb means I definitely want to try to do the aliens thing of having them on the ceiling. That, however, is very difficult to do in Roll20 and try to come up with a method of, literally physically tokens on top of each other and getting around and doing all that would be a little bit tricky. They can also burrow those. They could come up through walls and the ground and up from the ceiling, just everywhere. Looking forward to it. They got into the barracks during nap time and it's all over. Well, the problem is the barracks is the 100 feet higher. So that would be... I was trying to use that as my natural barrier. Because if they can... if there are arcane locks, but you can always just destroy the arcane lock, because the arcane lock just locks the door. It doesn't make the door impervious to damage. And even mentions the fact that each door and rooftop hatch is made of reinforced iron held shut by an arcane lock spell. Prison personnel can open these doors and hatches normally. A locked door or hatch is too strong to be shouldered or kicked open, but it can be destroyed if it takes enough damage. Door has AC of 19, a damage threshold of 10, 30 hit points, immediate poison. Okay, what do you mean what damage threshold means? Doesn't mean you have to do at least 10 damage, though. Maybe that Kruthix wouldn't actually be able to destroy a door. Let's see. Damage threshold. Something I can search. Okay, here's an example from Ghosts of Saltmarsh. The ship component has a damage threshold. The threshold appears after its hit points. A component has immunity to all damage unless it takes an amount of damage that equals or excels its threshold, which takes normal damage. So that means these reinforced iron doors, if they take less than 10 damage, they take no damage. So you have to deal at least 10 damage with an attack in order to do that damage, and then you still have to do 30 damage worth of hit points. So in that case, these reinforced doors actually probably would keep the Kruthix out, because individually I don't think they do more than 10 damage unless they get a crit. Even then it's not a guarantee. So I could use those reinforced doors as the deterrent for how far they've gotten, but the problem is they can also just burrow through walls. So that kind of renders it almost moot, because it says they have a burrowing speed, and they can burrow through solid rock. So presumably, even though they can't get through the doors, they could probably just burrow through different areas, which is also very thematic, I feel like, with the whole aliens thing. So every door by default is that reinforced door. So yeah, you could easily determine that, okay, especially since they've got all these slits here, that the Kruthix are able to burst through and kill these guys. And then maybe they did make their way up. So you could even turn R19 down here into another combat encounter. Although there's a door here. That slowed them down. Okay, he's come to a door 100 feet above the prison roof. So maybe that would be the deterrent, this one door, because it's 100 feet up. Maybe that, I don't know. I'll have to decide where I want the danger level to start and stop, basically. But this is all assuming the players land their airship. The only reason they might not is they say, well, crap, we can't just, if there's enough room to just land it and then disengage the side crystal, then they will land on the top. If there's not, then they might actually want to land on the ground and then go in the front door. But I kind of like the idea of them landing on the top of the airship. It kind of rewards them for having it and gives them a more unique point of entry where they can maybe see the last stand of, or at least the history of it. of these poor guards before they were slaughtered by the Kruthiks, and then create kind of a, hopefully, Thimbleweed-centric dungeon crawl here, and maybe they only see parts of it, and maybe they want to explore more of it, and I can create some more things for them to find. But the goal will be to get the information about where Aurel's abode is, and why they need to go there, and obviously to chase after Lantomir and Gaunt. So this will be the final area, basically, of Icewind Dale before we start the end game of Isle of Solstice, Grimskala, and then going back, and then that finishes tier 2, and then we go on to Act 3, which is Caves of Hunger and Ithrin. Looking forward to all that. All right, this was just a bonus crafting Icewind Dale because I'm going to be off for starting on Thursday, so do not expect a crafting Icewind Dale at that point, nor a D&D session. Instead, we'll be back for next week, and I'll actually be talking about Lost Spire of Netheril at that point, because I believe that's where my players will actually be heading towards next, and then we'll come back to Revel's End at some point in the future. But I'm glad we got to do a little preliminary chat about my thoughts about it, because I am changing a whole lot of that one. All right, that's going to do it for Crafting Icewind Dale. If you enjoyed the content, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shouts to Platinum patrons: Joe, Will, Thomas, Adam, Stan, William, I'm Loud, Brandon, Genocider, David, Eclectic, Roll, Christopher, Brian, William, and David. Gold patrons: RPG Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Marcus, Dead Lizard, Lion, Sam, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, Nathan, Fastica, Tortoise, Scott, Humanoid, Size, Sphincters, and Stephanie. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you all next week, although patrons, I will see you tomorrow for the DM Roundtable.